Hello guys, and welcome to another episode of my lecture. Last class we talked about de facto directors, de jure directors, and their provisions under Cama. In this class we will be talking about shadow directors. So let's go straight to our class. Now, when we are talking about shadow directors, there are two very important sections for us to note. We have section 270 of Cama, and then we have the second leg of section 868 of Cama. But let us start with section 270. It tells us that without prejudice to the provision of section 269 and section 276 of this act, and for the purpose of section 279 and 301, 307 of this act, director shall include any person on whose instruction and directions the directors are accustomed to act. Now, when we are looking at section 868, when we are talking about the second leg, it tells us that a director includes any person in accordance with whose direction or instructions the directors are accustomed to act. Now, section 868 of Cama 2020 contains no limitation as to its application. When we go back to section 270, when you read the second line, it says for the purpose, means that this section is for the purpose of section 279, 301 and 307 of the act. So section 868, when it comes to defining shadow directors, does not limit it to those three sections. It makes it all encompassing. Section 270, however, limits it to three sections. 269, which is a provision as to insolvent persons acting as directors. 2. 301, register of directors shareholding. 3. 307, multiple directorship. The definition of shadow director implies that there are persons who are never seen but who determines what other directors do. Now, in explaining this very well, if you stay in Lagos State, you would know that when it comes to the political atmosphere in Lagos, certain people might be the governor of Lagos State, but there are certain people that control what the governor does and what the governor says. Do you understand? When a governor is elected, if we are using it in terms of Cama, when a director is appointed, it means that that governor who has been elected is a de jure governor. So in a company, when he has been appointed, is a de jure director. But where a person not being appointed as a governor decides to carry the administration of the state and decides to do certain things, for example, in military era, the kind of sovereignty that they hold is called the de facto sovereignty, because it was not done in accordance with law, but now that they are acting in such position, they have to confer them with a particular sovereignty. Do you understand? So if a governor not appointed, not elected, decides to take the role of administering a particular state, then he will be determined to be a de facto governor. Just like in a company, when a person has not been duly appointed but then decides to carry out the affairs, that's the business of a company, he will be regarded as the de facto director. Now, when we are talking about shadow directors, there are certain people that they do not show their face. We do not see them. But you see, those governors that you see that are acting on behalf of the state, most times their acts are tailored in accordance with the direction of some other people that we cannot see. Those people in a company who give orders not overtly, orders covertly, that is in darkness, to the directors to act, those people will be regarded as shadow. You understand? They are under the shadow. We do not see them, but they give certain directions. Do you understand? So when we read the provision of section 272, it tells us that subject to 301, 306 and 307 of the act, nothing contained in 276 of the act is deemed to derogate from the duties and liabilities of the duly appointed directors. Now, when you go to section 270 sub 3, it says that when a person in his professional capacity give advice and a director acts on it, that shall not be construed to make such a person under this act a person in accordance with whose direction or instruction the director of a company is accustomed to act. Basically, the rule is that professionals cannot be shadow directors when the advice that was given was in their professional capacity alone. So section 273 is guiding professionals from liability that might be clothed on them when they are given the role of a shadow director. Do you understand? So when you are talking about shadow directors, professionals like lawyers, like accountants, when they advise the company, oh, do it like this, don't do it like this, they told the director, oh, I feel this one is better based on my submission and my calculations and my this and my that, I realize that this is the most, by the time they tell the director, do like this, and then the director eventually does like that, and then the director says, oh, somebody told me to, because that person who told you to was acting in his professional capacity, it cannot be said that that person is a shadow director. That is what section 270 sub 3 of Cama is telling us. Do you understand? So basically, we've seen the whole provision of section 269 from 1, 2, 3, 4, and also section 270 from 1, 2, 3. We've looked at the provision of section 86 as regarding the directors, the first leg and the second leg. We've also looked at the provision of section 276 of Cama. So now we are going to another type of director, the non-executive director and then the executive director. That is what I'll be discussing in my next class. See you in my next class.